Hello friends, I'm Sanyukta and we'll be learning today another Zentangle original pattern. The pattern is called Zander. Yes, I already posted a picture of a tile which has that pattern on my Facebook page if you had a look. The pattern looks something like a cable or a rope. It involves mainly line work. And let us see how do we draw the pattern, right? So I'm going to be drawing these dividing lines here, kind of parallel lines with a slight curve at the end, right? And then I'm going to start with a line in between, something like this. If you have noted, I am breaking the line just to give the effect of highlight, right? And then some more lines, right, like these closed lines. Then on the other side, right, nothing but lines, simple line work. My hand is pretty light on the nib, right, not pressing my nib too much, right? And then you can add one more here and probably add some open ends like these, right? So this is the basic pattern Zander. If you wish, you can join these lines. It is up to you. You may not do it, right? So that is how the basic pattern Zander looks. Now you can also keep the dividing line straight. A slight curve at the ends helps you give it a three-dimension look when you shade it, right? So how do we generally shade it? Since we have added a slight curve at the ends of the dividing lines, we'll just make the two ends darker, the edges, so that it looks like a curved cable or rope kind of a thing, right? You can also add some shade below these dividers like this, right, and just blend it with a light hand. So when the edges become dark, the center pops up and you get a three-dimensional look, right? So this is how you shade it. Now how do we play with the pattern? Again, there are three options. You play with the divider, right? Add some orbs, add a highlight and color it or ink it. Make it a twisted divider like this, and then do the same activity, right, like this, right? So you have given it a twisted look. The dividers have become twisted. So there are many ways to play around with the pattern, right? Generally you don't replace these lines. That is what gives Zander its actual character, but you can, just in case you don't want to draw the lines, you can fill it with orbs or any other pattern, right? So it will still look like Zander, but the original pattern looks like this. Again, if you have twisted lines, you can add a highlight, right, like this, right? Or you, instead of drawing these lines in such a fashion, you can also have straight lines, right? Something like these, absolutely straight. They will give a different look to your Zander, absolutely different, right? You can draw it this way also, right? So the tangulations are unlimited, right? So whichever way you want to go about it. Let us draw a tile and see how we can use this pattern in different ways, right? It's an excellent ribbon or border tangle. So instead of using it as a border, let us try something else today, right? So in front of me is a square tile. So let me put my borders in place. Right? And then I'm going to be adding this rough string kind of thing, a curvy line like this, and then I think somewhere like this, right? So just for reference, right? And let us start with our Zander right away. So I'm going to take this line as a reference, right, and start with my Zander. Just a small curve at the ends, as I told you, will help you give it a three-dimensional look when you shade it. Right? So now it's up to you if you want to start from the center, otherwise you can start from the sides, give a few highlights, and then again I'm pretty soft on my nib. You can join these lines if you wish. If you wish, you can leave them as it is, right? Just a few highlights in the center and then joining them back, right? Again, you can see the pen is pretty light. I'm not actually drawing hardcore lines here. A few highlights in the center, right? Alternatively, what you can do is start from the center if you think you forget the highlights, and then fill in the rest. No problem at all. Like this. Right? Again. Breaking the line at almost the same place every time you draw it. Right? Again, if you wish, you can join these lines. Right? Right? So you can see here, it's not a straight line here. So it's not that Zander has to be drawn in a straight line because it is a border or a ribbon kind of a tangle. No, you can draw it anyway, right? And the ends, up to you how you want to go about it, right? So now I'll be drawing my second line. Again, the same exercise, or if you wish, you can give a slight variation also, right? I'm going to keep it the same. Right? Like this. So again, joining the ends, adding a few highlights, and then again joining the ends, right? Again, some lines with highlights, and then going back, right? Again, right? Even if you leave the lines open, the dividing lines, it is okay. Looks good either ways, right? Again, some highlights and then normal lines. Again, some highlights and then normal, right? Right, again, and then the final one, right? So if you want, you can add one more here also. So just going to, yeah, so giving it a bit twisted look, right? Again, same exercise. Drawing the lines with a very light hand, right? The pressure on the nib is very less, not trying to emphasize the lines too much, right? Right. Right, so just going inside somewhere, and if you wish a little coming out from here, just a touch like this, right? I think by now you got to understand how to draw the pattern. Simple line work, and you can see the beauty of the pattern, right? So now these small little places that are left in between, I'm going to just give an outline, something like this, a rough outline without touching my zander, right? Like this, like this, right? So these spaces I'm going to fill in with tipple, right? Comes pretty handy, an excellent filler. I use it pretty often. Right? So filling in the small little spaces that are left while I am drawing the tipple at the same time, or you may draw all the tipples at once and then fill in the small spaces. It's absolutely okay. So different sizes, not all of same size, manipulating the shape of the orb as per my space, right? So I'm going to do this exercise inside all these spaces that I have outlined. So you can see here I have filled in the spaces with the tangle pattern tipple, right? Now it is up to you. What do you want to do with the rest of the spaces? Probably I would go with the tangle called poke root. We have already learned this in our previous sessions. I'm sorry, this is called poke leaves. So I'm going to fill this space with the pattern poke leaf, right? Like this. Right. 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 So involves lot of drawing behind. Right. So the rest of the small spaces, it is up to you. It's better to ink it. Right. So I'm just going to ink the small little spaces that are left in between my poke leaves, right? So I've inked the small little spaces that were left over here in between my poke leaves, right? Now it is up to you, how do you want to go about with the rest of the space. So I'm going to add the pattern Marasu here, right? So I'm drawing these spirals, right? All these patterns we have already learned in our previous sessions. So it is up to you which pattern do you want to add, right? Entirely up to you. So I'm now going to add these dividing lines as we do in Marasu, right? If you wish, you can add some other pattern, entirely up to you. Whatever comes to your mind at that point of time. Generally, you don't pre-pan a Zentangle tile. Just go with the flow and draw what comes to your mind first. Right? So just drawing these dividers. Right? One more here. And now we are going to fill it up, right? So just leave a highlight in between, or alternatively you can add a highlight with your chalk pencil. Both are fine. Right? Again, leave one space in between. Right? And on the other side. So I'm leaving a highlight in between, right, like this. Again, third one, again fourth one, right. So I'm going to be filling this marasu, right, in this manner. So you can see here I have completed my marasu, right. Left one block in between, and alternate blocks I have inked it with the highlight, right, just the way we do it in marasu, right. So now let us start shading our tile. So I think I left one space here. Yeah, let us start with shading our zander. So I'm going to shade on the ends as I showed to you, so that it looks like a rope or a coil, right. So I'm adding some graphite at the edges. Not much, just a touch below. Right. Just a touch below. So it's interesting to see how simple line work can create patterns, beautiful patterns, right? So I have not added anything except lines in my zander, right? And then some on one side of the poke leaves, shading one of the sides, right? Yeah, some space left here. Yeah. And then marasu, we already know. I'll just add some graphite on this spiral line that I had drawn. Right. Right. So let us now start blending. The tipple, I'm adding some graphite at the edges. Not going to shade each and every tipple, but shading the tangle as a whole. Right. So let us now start blending. Right. So you can see how shading the edges brings out the 3D look in your Zander. Right, the last one. Right, and then a touch on the tipple, leaving the center white as a highlight. Right, and then my poke leaves. Shading one side. You can also add graphite on this head, the stem. Right, that is also one way to go about shading it. Right, and then we come to our Marasu. Just blend the line, the graphite that you have put on the line. We have already added a highlight, so we don't need to do much with the chalk pencil. If you wish, you can add it, but it's not required as such because we have already added a highlight, right? Just giving a touch to my border. Right, so this is the Tangle pattern Zander with Marasu and a few more patterns. Right, so what you can also do here is add a little highlight in the center where you have not added graphite, like this. Right, right, some chalk pencil at the center of the tipples. Right, so this is the Tangle pattern Zander, and I'll be posting few more tiles with the pattern Zander. Right, I'm giving you some options on how you can use the pattern. So let us first initial the tile. So I'm now going to sign and date it. So we'll meet again with another Zentangle original pattern, right? Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good time.